Are against it of my parish. So some local historical groups are for it. They are not the ones paying the bill in the parish. The people in the parish are paying the bills. We are against this. I've had the experience in East Harlem. I wanted a handicap ramp in 1999. It still doesn't have a handicap ramp because Landmark said it would take away from the look of the church. So right now I'm in the same position, but I'm trying to stop it. So I was hoping the borough president also would be here because we need a voice saying that this shouldn't happen. The people in my parish is the poorest congressional district in the country, and usually when you have landmarks, your prices double any kind of repairs.
Wow.
That's a fact. That's a fact that we live with.
Wow.
No question, that's strong. We'll work with you. Can we work with you and contact you tomorrow, Father? And
I would appreciate that.
The borough president could stop by at any moment, and we could certainly work with his office. We have a great relationship, and we'll certainly do that tomorrow. He's not here yet, but I do want to take an opportunity to introduce the New York City Public Advocate is here tonight. If you got Tish here and I'm here, where's de Blasio could show up tonight? Right? This could be
Good point.
I just happened to be in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I wanted to stop by.
Right.
So good evening, everyone. Hello, Bronx. How you doing, Pelham Parkway? So, you know, obviously I love Scott Stringer. He's doing a great job with our pension dollars and making sure that our resources are in check. Making sure that we're paying the bills on time and everything is moving very swiftly and expeditiously and professional in the office of Comptroller. So give him a round of applause. Yeah, and the Comptroller and I, we had a rally earlier to respond to some comments by a certain candidate who's running for president, right? Particularly as it relates to women. So, women, are you in the house? Are you with me? That's right. Very good, very good, very good.
Sorry.
It's not. I'm just saying we're women. That's it. We love women, yes. So, I understand my staff has been here and they have been messaging me and tweeting me and recording. And a number of issues have come up. Obviously, the crisis in affordable housing. I know all of you are concerned about the rezoning that will be happening in the Bronx. The Comptroller and I have expressed concerns with regards to the rezoning. We are concerned about the crisis in affordable housing because this evening, 60,000 New Yorkers will go to sleep in our shelters homeless. We know the Comptroller has been doing a great job with regards to oversight, with regards to performing oversight over our shelters in the city of New York, which should raise concern amongst all of you in this city. And of those 60,000, 23,000 are children, and a significant number of those children are special needs children. As a public advocate of the city of New York, if your question is, well, what do you do? Why, thank you for coming by, but what do you do? This is what I do. I do three things, basically. I legislate, I introduce laws into the city council. I provide oversight over the mayor as well as the city council. In addition to that, I litigate. We have introduced more pieces, more litigation than all other public advocates combined. We successfully won a lawsuit recently, I'm sure you read in the paper, against NYCHA for turning off heat for NYCHA residents. Thank you. We won that battle. We stood up on behalf of special needs children who were locked in hot buses. We won that battle. We stood up on behalf of special needs children in certain schools who are not getting the services that they deserve. We won that battle. We won against this administration. They were engaging in they have a contract called CSIS, which unfortunately is not tracking special needs children. We brought that to our attention. It cost all of us millions of dollars. They are reforming CSIS in the city of New York. We brought to the attention of the administration, and we filed a lawsuit when the administration decided to not provide notice to senior citizens and the disabled whose DRE and SCRE were terminated, which was wrong. And so we were able reinstated, their benefits reinstated. And we were able to provide notice to all the residents who now have street and DRE. And so we have a wide range of lawsuits in the city of New York, and the most important lawsuit that I'm really happy about is we filed a lawsuit again to protect the rights of foster care children in the city of New York. New York City and New York State. New York City, in terms of getting children into permanent homes, is doing really poor. Out of the 50 states, we're like 48 in terms of engaging in permanency planning for children in the city and then in the state of New York. And so what I heard from children is children who were sexually abused, psychologically abused, and mentally abused. And on behalf of all of you, we had to file a lawsuit to protect children in the foster care system, and that's what we did. We've got a number of other lawsuits, but what I heard this evening through my staff is the crisis in affordable housing. We are working in our office in regards to Parkchester to mitigate that rent increase. We've had a number of meetings, and we hope to be reporting back to you in regards to our progress working with Councilmember Palmer and other elected officials on the state level. We also are concerned about the high unemployment of young people in our community. High unemployment rate, and the fact that a significant number of them are dropping out of our high schools. We need to look more towards vocational training and making sure that they are trained for high performance, high jobs, and for jobs in the tech industry and jobs in the 21st century. That's what the Office of Public Advocate does. We legislate, we litigate, and last but not least, we agitate the hell out of the mayor. So, I want to thank the Comptroller. I want to thank Comptroller Stringer again for this town hall meeting. I know it's open mic, and I don't want to, I see you, oh my goodness, let me move out of the way, because there's nothing more dangerous than a woman with a made-up mind, and a woman with a hat is certainly a woman with a made-up mind. So I'm going to exit. My staff will continue to monitor the situation and continue to report to me and to my office about how we can assist you working with the Comptroller of the City of New York. Thank you for allowing me to speak there, and enjoy the evening.
Another round of applause to our public advocate, Cliff James. Thank you, Cliff. Before we get to your question, though, in addition to the public advocate, we have Ramon Cabral from Congressmember Serrano's office. Give him a round of applause. We have Michael from Councilmember Vacca's office is here. Give Michael a round of applause. And Natalia Fernandez from Assemblymember Jonai is here as well. Give her a round of applause. So we've got a packed house. Now, all right, it's you.
Okay. I listened to the beginning to your speech where you are concerned about money, and I'm very concerned because every dollar that is earned in this country, in this city especially, more than 60 to 65 cents is taken out of every earned dollar, and it's taken in taxes. All these taxes are hidden. A lot of them are hidden. They're on food, they're on transportation, they're on gasoline. I've had enough. But I'm talking now about waste. And one of them is, every time you open the newspaper, someone's getting hit with a car. And the reason that is, they wanted now to have a film on showing people how not to hit pedestrians. But the reason why the pedestrians are getting hit is because they lowered the wattage in the lighting. And on the street corners, you can't see a pedestrian crossing. No driver wants to hit anybody. That's a very expensive thing for the city to pay out all those accidents that could be avoided. If they're going to pay $2-3 million for someone to make a video, they could put up better lighting instead.
Okay.
That's another issue. Another issue is the potholes on Pelham Parkway North. I've called Vacca's office, I've called the city council, I've called 911, and I've even handed out flyers.
All right, let me do this.
Nobody's fixing
Okay,
it.
we had two issues. I'm going to ask Singwan, who does all of our pothole complaints, litigation on potholes, let him answer the pothole question.
But I have a few more before
But we don't have a few more. We have a few more people behind you, so everyone gets two.
This has an issue to do with the issue of congestion pricing. We don't want more tolls on more bridges. We have enough expenses. Families can't afford these tolls. and they can't afford to spend $18, $15 to go to New Jersey.
All right. Let's do this. You know, Bronx, you are okay. This is great. I'm coming back next week. All right, but can I get you? I want to get you on potholes. Sing one.
Everyone, if you see a pothole in your neighborhood, go to Department of Transportation's website and tell them that there's a pothole there. Because if something happens to your car and you didn't tell the Department of Transportation about it, we can't pay you for damages to your car. So I urge everyone to contact the Department of Transportation when you see a dangerous pothole.
All right. Thank you, sing one. Thank you for being patient. We're coming back to the left side.
Hello, my name is Edna Lewis. I am a resident council leader. I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know your feelings on rent rollback, one. And two is, what are you going to do about the cluster sites and protecting those units?
So, many of you may be aware that in December, I issued an audit of homeless shelters and the cluster sites. And what we found was something very serious and damning. 53% of these shelters had real evidence of rats, major infestation. We found that there were serious code violations in many of these facilities. We came back a few weeks later and we issued what I think may be the first ever compilation of violations in the homeless shelters, and it came to 18,000 violations. 3,000, for those of you who are housing advocates, 3,000 were the hazardous ones, the ones that shouldn't go past 24 hours to fix. As Tish mentioned, and I feel strongly about this as well, the 58,000 people who sleep in homeless shelters, 23,000 are children. We found real evidence that there was no security in many of these cluster sites. One security guard for 16 buildings. Parents were holding the door in one hand and holding their baby in another hand. The crisis of homelessness in the city, it's the invisible city. It's a city that we don't go to every day. Maybe we see it on the street, but we never see it behind closed doors. We blew the lid off this issue, and we did it big. And I'm proud to tell you tonight that between the governor and the mayor, we are getting results. For the first time, these shelters are now being inspected. In fact, they're being inspected by more people than ever in the history of the homeless shelter system. We got that done. And we are now working with Steve Banks, who's the HRA commissioner. People don't, I'll tell you this because we're at a town hall meeting, but it's really not for the press. But yes, I criticize and we expose, but I've also walked the homeless shelters with the Coalition for the Homeless and the mayor's office. Because at the end of the day, we've got to get something done. And we've got to protect people. The real struggle is how we create a system that is safe. Now, I know that with 58,000 people in homeless shelters, anyone who tells you this is going to go away in 90 days or 200 days is just not telling you the truth. We may not be able to solve the problem today, but there's no doubt in my mind, given the resources of this city, that we can make every shelter safe and every child safe. And when you go into a shelter and see those little kids, they don't know they're in a homeless shelter. They owe it their friends. They are getting programmatic help. And our job is to keep them safe through their most difficult childhood moments. And that is something that if there's anything I do between now and not being controller, I promise you, we are going to expose and fix the invisible city in all of our 5 boroughs. We have to do it. We have to.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for having this open meeting. It's really unique. My name is Myra Goggins, and I've lived in the Bronx all my life, which is now 79 years. And
All right.
a lot of the issues that have come up tonight I have worked on. I'm a member of the Pelham Parkway Neighborhood Association.
Great association.
And the Northwest Bronx Community
Very
Encouraging
good.
Coalition. And we have worked to keep the Bronx intact, and now we are paying the price for saving the Bronx because we have all these new problems where we have gentrification and what have you. However, my issue tonight is something I've been trying to work on for almost 20 years. I'm sorry, I think the public advocate has left. A previous public advocate, Mark Green, had appointed me to the Transit Advisory Council, and I quit after a few years in disgust because you cannot get them to do anything about accessoride. I have tried in the course of my life in Pelham Parkway to get our councilman, who was the head of the chair of the Transportation Committee, to do something about accessoride. My ask for you tonight is, would you please review the contracts which are let by the TA, the paratransit section? It has gotten so much worse because now there's an extra layer of bureaucracy. They always had a problem with their own contractors, you know, their accessoride vans and cars. But now we have to deal with brokers who then contract with kind of fly-by-night local companies. No one is accountable. Accessoride said, oh, you have to deal with the broker. And it's an impossible situation. So if someone could please review, because they are making more money. They had problems at Accessoride because they weren't training and paying their people enough. Now these people are getting paid by the individual that they pick up.
Oh, wow.
I hear you. I'm going to come back to you. Can't do it tonight,
Okay.
but you have my commitment that this system has to be made whole. So just give me a little more time. Okay, thank you. Sir.
My name is Aldo Perez. I'm from the New York Political Coalition, and I would like to thank you for coming to our event at Peace December, where you came to for the Bangladeshi community. My question is for the growing immigration population in our community in the Bronx, well, in general, the entire New York City. Right now, in our public school systems, we have ESL classes only for Spanish-speaking students, but not really for Bengali or Arab-speaking students, or even African-speaking students. What is the Comptroller's office going to do in helping getting funding for the Board of Education to have funding for those schools like the Park Chester area? I mean, if you look at the school systems that we have right now, we have new school systems right now in our area that have soup kitchens for the kids. 99% of the children are actually receiving free lunch. I mean, homelessness is rampant in New York City, we know that. But there's actually no funding for our children. And our children's growth, and with all the Islamophobia that's going on as a Muslim and a Latino Muslim, I find that right now that we actually not really getting that much support. And what is the Comptroller's office going to do in partnership with our city elected officials to actually promote a safe atmosphere and a productive atmosphere in education, also for Muslims and other ethnicities that are going within our city?
We have worked very hard over the past many years to make sure that all communities are safe. And we are very committed to making sure that the Islam community and all of the communities can live in the city free of a crime attack. And it's something that we're all committed to, because at the end of the day, there's not a group in this room that has not felt hatred and racism, and our children should not be victims to that. I think you're right, very strongly. The school system is always evolving because cities are always evolving. And we've now put some holidays in place that reflect the diversity of the kids in school, but we can't stop there. We have to make sure that we have the appropriate education for the kids. So I'd be happy to sit with you. I've come to your meeting, but perhaps it's time for us to sit down. We regularly meet with stakeholders of different groups all over the city, and I would be happy to have that meeting with you. In the meantime, one of the things that we've been able to do is, I think we put together one of the best immigrant rights manuals in the city so that people know their rights, and we've translated the manual in many different languages, including Bangladeshi. So it's a beginning. We have to do more, but we'll definitely work with you. And if you give me a call, I'll be happy to sit down with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Saray Davis, board member of Community Board 6, servant to the Department of Buildings for the past 3 years. But more importantly, I come to you tonight as a mother of a special needs child. We have a deep problem in this city, and especially in the Bronx. The Bronx has been treated like the stepchild of the boroughs for years. Yeah. Especially our medically fragile children. An article hit the New York Times on March 1st, and I've had indigestion for 30 days waiting to talk to you about this. $130 million was invested in a system that failed to capture information on children who deserve to have these services. Through no fault of their own have they been born blind, disabled, medically needy, with autism. They should be first in line for these services, not in back taking a number. And as for the shelter system, we went through 3 of them, with a trach and a ventilator and no jurisprudence. Yeah, you remember that, don't you, Elizabeth? But we got through, and now my hands are my only vouchers. But that being said, my main issue is the schools. She didn't even get her therapy on time that was mandated by her IEP. Why? These people pass the city test. They have these titles. And then when they don't get the therapist to school, they boomerang the responsibility back on the parent to find a therapist. I'm sorry, I work a full-time job. So after work, I have to hope that these places are open, hope that someone will get back to me, and hope further that someone will come and service my kid. But not just my kid, all of the kids of the Bronx, because they're my neighbors. And when they grow up, if they don't get what they deserve, they're going to become recidivists. And it's not right, and it's not fair. Where's the jurisprudence?
Well, what I'd be happy to do is, Singwan is here tonight. If you would spend some time with him to work on some of the issue that you may have, and generally the thing that I can speak to, as controller, I can't always talk about the issues we're working on, but we are deep into this.
I understand,
and
but the buck needs to stop here because 130 million of them failed, and there's over 6,000 kids like my daughter here. She doesn't have her trach now. She was medically fragile, and I've been on top of the school since day one. And I know there's parents out here who don't speak English, who are afraid to speak up. Well, I'm here for all of them in the Bronx because we need help. And if these children get left behind, it's a sad day for me.
I think you're absolutely right. How old is your daughter?
My daughter is going to be 7 on the 14th, right, Elizabeth?
How old?
7 years old.
Happy
and
birthday.
She was born at 25 weeks, so she's
Wow.
in all places, all right?
Can we give you a round of applause? Wow. And by the way, the fact that you're here tonight with your daughter.
And my son who wants to be on the phone, but he's here too to support his sister because he's been there since
where's
day
your son?
one. Vinny, raise your hand, Vincent. That's my
You want
son.
the phone? All right, Vincent. He's taking care of it. I want you to, can we get you to sing what you want to do now?
Sure.
Can you step out? No, can you step out and take the information?
Thank you.
Okay?
But let's not forget these kids who definitely need a voice.
Fair enough. Sing one. You came to the right place. Wow. By the way, Jamal Bailey is here from Speaker Heastie's office. Give him a round of applause. Hello, Jamal. Thanks for coming.
Yes, how you doing, Scott Stringer? My name is Jerome Rice. I'm the branch president of the NAACP in Co-op City, and I'm a retired correction captain. The question that I want to bring to you, are you aware that when an inmate is discharged from Rikers Island and it's more than 120 days, their valuables go to the NYPD Police Sergeant Association. What I'm requesting is that that money go to the victims instead of going to law enforcement. Because trust me, we have enough money. So what I'm saying again, the valuables that is left behind when inmates get discharged from Rikers Island, if it's over 120 days, the money go to the NYPD Sergeant Association. I did 25 years and done it that far. And since you saying about saving money, we can start by taking it from the Police Sergeant Association and directing it to the victims who've been victimized of that crime. That's all.
Can you leave me your information so I can get more?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll give it to Jason.
Yes, give it to Jason, yeah, make sure we get that.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I actually wanted to bring up two issues. One of them was already brought up. It's about the local bus schedules, and waiting over 30 minutes is just not an option.
Where are you from? Soundview?
Neil Avenue.
Neil Avenue,
Around
okay.
here. My second, it's not an issue, but well, maybe it is. We actually should have more farmers markets in the area. And I'm a public school science teacher, and every year I'm always amazed of how little information the students know about healthy eating. So perhaps, and this is just a suggestion, we do have open space, we have greenery, maybe creating year-round green, what I call greenhouse, not greenhouses, what are these? Like in the botanical garden, something where the students actually can take a part of it, and trust me, you have teachers volunteering to just run the
Can I
program
tell you
themselves.
something? It is the biggest challenge that we face, and that is to make sure that our children have the resources to eat healthy so they can learn healthy. One of the things I did when I was borough president, I really think we should do this where possible everywhere, is on every public school, we should build a green roof for two reasons. One, it's learning and it's education.
That's right.
And it will also reduce the heat of buildings, saving money for the city. And I'd be happy to send you this report, but I am with you on this. We should use some of the vacant property we identified and build housing, but you also build open space. But we have got to create healthy eating options for our kids. And you just can't have farmers markets in the major thoroughfares. You need to take advantage of every community and put farmer market entrepreneurs from upstate and the urban city to create the kind of farming that can feed people in the healthiest way. I agree with you
Or
so
even
much.
perhaps if there's something built there that volunteers can run it.
Absolutely, and there's some great organizations that are doing that. But you're right. Mr. Lita.
Good evening, Mr. Comptroller. Scott, you and I worked together a very long time, since Georgiana Streeter introduced us in the 90s in Albany. On behalf of Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson, Bronx Park East Community Association, we thank you for this much-needed forum here in the Bronx. Just want to add, you referred to Singhua to do, Mr. Kim, to follow up on the potholes. But I want to tell everybody is that before you do that, you have to call 311. You have to make a call so you can get a control number, so then we can work with the elected officials and your office. So do that first, please. As you could hear today, this is my last paragraph, that today's biggest issues has been housing, whether you're a homeowner trying to keep your property, trying to keep the prices of the adjacent streets down, or renting, making sure that the rents are low, preventing homelessness with the home base. One other issue we have here, second to Riverdale and other places, we have a lot of Michelamas. Michelamas here represent the hardcore middle class. They're the ones that are being squeezed every day. They got the choice and the chance. We know that Michelamas are dying one building at a time. Here in the 80th, which I've represented for 8 years, and adjacent to the 78th, which I represent now as state committee, is the crown jewel of the district, Tracy Towers. Here representing Tracy Towers are the residents of Tracy Towers, the president, Gene Hill, as well as member of CB7, and also right here, and also Tracy Towers, please raise your hand, and also Brenda Caldwell, president of the 52nd Precinct, and also resident Tracy. And
I'm so glad you're here.
So, you know, that's,
Tracy.
for me, you know, I got elected partially because of them, and also and here in Pelham Parkway. And representing them well, I have to say what I have to say. We've worked very hard to keep rents down. In the last 4 years, the rent in Tracy Towers has gone dramatically up. And we've worked, since State Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson, Assembly Member Joe Nye, Council Member, the council members, Coppell and now Cohen. But we really need your office, as well as the State Controller's office, to do an audit on the management in Tracy Towers. So I just want to.
Between Parkchester tonight and Tracy Towers, you know, Tim, I think we should go back to the drawing board and see what we can do to maybe check out some developments and see what we, you know, and see what we can do. You know, when
HPD is a big part of that.
No, I understand that. I mean, just, you know, a lot of people, you know, stop me on the street and they say, I'd like you to audit X. So there's an audit process, right, where sometimes we can't audit what we would like to audit, but this has come up from time to time with huge rent increases. And let me talk to some of the folks here and figure out what we can do. And I'm due to come back to a Tracy Tower tenant meeting. So, you know, if you build it, I will come.
Always invited.
All right, then it's my time to come.
Yes, it's your time.
Okay, ma'am. All right. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Controller.
Thank you.
Good evening, Controller Stringer. Thank you.
Speak a little louder.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Controller Stringer. Thank you for the opportunity to come here to speak
Good
to
to
you.
meet you.
My name is Edward Taylor. I'm a small business owner here in the Bronx. I started my company 27 years ago, and with a few $1,000s, before we moved to the Bronx, we built it to 22 employees and $7 million. Being in the Bronx, with the help of the Bronx Initiative Corporation, the SBA, we were able to buy a building.